Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Ollie at MagicHands Hobbies. It's been a while since my last video, about a month, but we're jumping straight back in with HeroQuest and we're looking at these goblins. I'm only going to show you how to paint, or how I paint one of them, and these are the colours in which that I plan to use. And the idea is that we're going to have a base coat and a couple of simple washes, and that will produce a decent enough goblin for your box set. Afterwards we'll look at adding some additional layers, additional highlights, and just to make the model pop that little bit more. I'm also going to be experimenting with contrast. I told myself numerous times that I don't have enough contrast in my models and the colours just don't quite pop enough, and in this video we're going to look at that and see what I can do to improve that, in particular focused on the skin. So we put down a base coat of the darker green, and we're just going to go around the model and fill in the block colours. So with the base colours down, we can now move on to the process of adding washes. I'm just using two washes here. We've got the Null Oil, which is black. You can use any other brand should you wish. It doesn't have to be the Null Oil from Citadel. And I've also got the Agrax Earthshade. Again, it just needs to be a brown wash, and you can experiment with shades of that, and you can even make up your own just by using a wash medium, which are available from lots of different brands. I personally have a Vallejo one. I don't think I've ever used it yet. I've only ever used the Null Oil and Agrax Earthshade. So the Null Oil I'm adding to the skin, the metal and the brown leather. Then I'll use the Agrax Earthshade on the cloth, the materials, the teeth and the gold. So with the initial washes dry, I'm now going to move on to the brown wash again, but this time I'm going to stipple this over the metal. I don't expect goblins to have perfectly shiny weapons and armour, so by adding this brown wash on top of the black wash, it produces a nice dulled metal effect that looks like it's just not being taken care of, even to the point where it's maybe even starting to rust. Now at this point you could leave it. You've got some shadows, you've got some highlights that are created by using the wash, and it's perfectly acceptable. It's not perfect. I haven't spent lots of time going in and out of the details. But now we're going to look at a skin tone that is a bit more advanced, using some layering. Start with the same base tone, and I'm going to add a black wash before moving on to brighter and brighter highlights. With the wash dry, we now go back over the whole of the skin area with the original paint, but just making sure that we leave the deepest cracks and recesses as they are. Obviously there's no point painting over the complete wash into the shadows, it defeats the object. We're going to move on to the next shade of colour, which I've watered down ever so slightly. So we're going to build up the colour and increase the saturation. Picking out all of the highlight areas, all of the areas that would catch light. I'm imagining the light coming from above, so I'm just going to do under his eye there, on top of the cheek, and just down the side a little bit. I'm going to build the layers up, one layer at a time. You need to make sure that the layer before is dry before you paint over it, because otherwise you can end up scratching the paint up and it produces a texture which you may not be after. It may be worth experimenting with that texture. It might be something that you do wish to have on another model. In this particular instance, it's not something I want to have. So it's at this point when I started looking at the model, just reviewing how I feel about it, that I decided to push that contrast just that little bit extra, and I've added yellow into the mix here on the next stage. And as you can see, it's much brighter. It's almost comical, the colour that I'm producing here, very much like a gremlin I suppose, but I like it, and it's something different, and you're never going to learn different techniques, you're never going to learn what you like, what you don't like, what works, what doesn't work, unless you push yourself and unless you push those boundaries and experiment that little bit. So I encourage everyone to do that and to just push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you're uncomfortable doing it on a model that is probably expensive, get some cheap ones. go down car boot sale, pick up some cheap models, get something from the pound shop, some little toy soldiers, etc., and just experiment and push yourself, and you might surprise yourself. So now I've had a play with the contrast, I'm going back to the original model and I'm going to apply it across the skin tone and be a bit more controlled with it and see how it goes. I'm quite happy with the way it turned out. The skin looks pretty decent, but now I want to do something about what he's wearing. I'm going to add some additional highlights to both the leather and the cloth, and that should finish up the goblin. Let's see how it goes. So thanks for joining me on this video. I hope you liked what you saw. I hope you gained something from it or learned something. Leave a comment below if you'd like to see any more HeroQuest miniatures painted. I do plan on painting the entire box set from the Mythic Tier Kickstarter that was available. And with that, thanks very much. Subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.